What if the monster you've spent a lifetime hunting isn't lurking in the shadows, but staring back at you from the mirror? And the only way to catch him is to admit that the victim was never truly gone. In The Girl You Killed, Leslie Wolfe delivers a psychological thriller that weaponizes memory against its protagonist, proving that in minds fractured by trauma, the most dangerous crime scene is the one buried beneath denial. This isn't merely another unreliable narrator mystery with twisty reveals. It's a claustrophobic, emotionally precise descent into dissociative identity and moral injury, where every clue feels like self-betrayal, and every moment of clarity carries the weight of irreversible truth. From the first fractured narration, listeners are trapped in a labyrinth of suppressed guilt, where reality shifts like quicksand, and trust, including trust in oneself, is the first casualty. Perfect for fans of dark psychological suspense and stories that explore the architecture of remorse, this audiobook serves up relentless tension, unflinching emotional honesty, and a protagonist whose journey from perpetrator as victim to accountable survivor resonates with anyone who's ever been haunted by the person they became to survive. When forensic psychologist Dr. Elena Rostova begins treating a new patient with repressed memories of violence, she expects clinical detachment, not to recognize fragments of her own childhood in the woman's fragmented testimony. But as Elena navigates therapy sessions and escalating nightmares, she realizes this case isn't about healing another. It's about confronting the girl she killed to become the respected professional everyone trusts. Wolfe masterfully avoids reducing dissociation to plot gimmick or Elena to villainous caricature. Instead, she crafts a narrative where psychological fragmentation is both survival mechanism and prison, where consent is negotiated with parts of self long exiled, and where redemption requires integrating rather than erasing the darkness. The audiobook narration amplifies this psychological vertigo, capturing Elena's polished professionalism fracturing into raw vulnerability, while secondary voices shift subtly between therapeutic neutrality and hidden recognition, making every session feel like both excavation and interrogation. You don't just hear the mystery unfold, you feel the seismic shift of a mind learning that truth isn't found in forgetting, but in remembering what was too terrible to hold. What elevates The Girl You Killed beyond typical psychological thrillers is its nuanced portrayal of trauma response as moral complexity rather than pathology. Elena isn't merely solving a crime. She's confronting how her entire career was built on compensating for an act she couldn't acknowledge, challenging the notion that expertise absolves complicity. Her relationship with her patient evolves through acts of radical reciprocity, sharing silence during breakthroughs that bypass performance, setting boundaries that protect both therapeutic integrity and personal reckoning, and defending the validity of fragmented memory against systems that demand linear narratives. Supporting characters add vital texture, colleagues whose admiration masks unease, family members whose loyalty tests inherited shame, even the therapy office itself, rendered as liminal space whose neutral walls absorb decades of unspoken confessions. Every interaction reinforces the novel's core truth. In lives shaped by suppression, integration is rebellion, and accountability begins when you stop outsourcing your shadow. Even the psychological mechanics serve thematic depth, with dissociative states mirroring emotional avoidance, and therapeutic alliance becoming metaphor for internal reconciliation. For audiobook listeners, this production is an immersive exercise in sustained cognitive dissonance. The narrator embodies Elena's multiplicity with remarkable range, from authoritative clinician to trembling child self, while supporting characters are distinguished through vocal textures that hint at hidden knowledge without telegraphing twists. Sound design enhances claustrophobia without gimmickry, distant metronome ticks marking temporal disorientation, rain against soundproof windows during vulnerable disclosures, the hushed rustle of notepads syncing with breath during moments of rupture, all ground psychological stakes in sensory reality. Pacing mirrors the rhythm of therapeutic processing, deliberate during reflection and resistance, then surging with urgency as repressed material breaches containment. Whether you're navigating daily commutes or lying awake in darkness, the audiobook creates a portable consulting room where isolation feels absolute and connection feels like lifeline. Its storytelling is embodied reckoning, transforming passive listening into active participation in a search where justice demands more than insight. It demands surrender to uncomfortable wholeness. Ultimately, The Girl You Killed redefines psychological suspense by centering female accountability within trauma frameworks. It satisfies genre cravings for shocking reveals and relentless pacing, while delivering substantive commentary on dissociative survival, professional identity, and the radical act of claiming ownership over one's full history. No prior series knowledge is needed. It stands confidently as a complete emotional odyssey. If you've ever wondered whether healing requires forgiving the unforgivable in yourself, or if true recovery means integrating rather than excising pain, this audiobook will affirm that sometimes the most terrifying confrontation is the one you've avoided your entire life. Press play, face the mirror, and prepare to believe that even in minds fractured by fracture, wholeness still finds ways to emerge. Your next obsession isn't waiting in external villains. It's waiting in the brave, trembling choice to stop running from the girl you were.